Hey everybody, let's do another San Antonio Tech Dad podcast. I got Corey and
Seems like it's
Drew
about
with me.
time.
Look at
Yes.
that. Hey. Yeah, it has been quite a while. Glad that we could assemble everybody to chat about some things going on in the San Antonio world, in the dad world, and in the Pokemon world. So that's uh
We
that's
can
the
call it the
plan.
tech world. That's okay.
That's
Yeah,
a tech
man.
world.
It is. It's our tech world, right? So it's our crazy little world. How you guys been? How you guys been?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready to do this
All
show.
right.
Bad situation.
All
Keeping me
right.
busy.
Well, there you go. We have not been podcasting for various reasons, and now we are. So let's do that.
Indeed.
The reason that I specifically shined the SATechDad signal the other night was I want to talk about Pokemon. It's something that's everybody's talking about, and I think that we have three relatively different opinions on it. So I think it'll be really interesting to get us all together into one video and one audio podcast and talk about our thoughts on that. So, Corey, I think that you are the consummate gamer on this podcast. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on Pokemon to get us started here.
So, real quick, just to give a rundown for the few people in the world that are probably not playing this game. Pokemon Go is an app built in on iOS and Android. It's made by Niantic, who are very famous for the famous game on Google's platform called Ingress.
And Google Earth.
Yeah, and Google Earth. And they are so they built a Pokemon game utilizing Google Maps and basically putting an overlay of augmented reality on top of your camera. So you basically play the game, you create a character, you walk around in real life, and little notifications pop up that Pokemon are nearby. You go to catch one. When you do this, it launches your camera. You can see your viewfinder and the little characters there, and you throw Pokeballs by swiping at them and try and catch them. Ultimate goal is just to catch as many as you can, level up, level them up, and there's a whole bunch of nuances there, just gaming mechanics for progression. So there we go. So there's the game. Real simple, very easy, utilizing Google Maps. Ta-da! Rocky launch due to some security concerns.
And interest.
And interest. The game was launched on the 12th. On the 13th of July, they noticed. I'm sorry, not the 12th. Yeah, the 12th. They noticed that permissions that of users that were logging in with their Google accounts, there was full permissions on users' Google accounts. So it basically had complete access to your Google account.
I don't know that it ever actually did. I mean, it was just one of those things that it
was
at least gave you the impression that it did, and that was scary, not knowing.
It said it did. It said it did, and that kind of set up some red flags and a little bit of paranoia. But they quickly remediated it. They patched it almost the same day. And it was really more of an more of an Android user issue. iOS didn't really have the problem. I didn't see
No,
it
it was
on
the other way around. It was actually a subset of iOS users. I did a little research into it. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, that's weird. Why does it need full access? I think it's because it's built on Google Maps, because actually Google Maps does show up as full access. So I think that was shown through. So there was so much information coming out about it so fast. It was really hard to keep up with what was going on.
And it was over really quickly too. It was one of those things like it was up that morning, everybody was talking about it, it got patched, and then it was done. And I was like, okay, well, that was a quick response. Good job, Niantic. We appreciate that. And the game's just been taken over by Wildstorm. It's about to surpass user base of Twitter at this point. So that's a lot of users playing a single app game. In the past couple of days that it's been open or that it's been launched, it's been about $14 million in transactions have already been made for Niantic. So it's definitely lucrative. So.
Well, there's already a very long list of enormous apps that have more downloads. Or Pokemon Go has more downloads than LinkedIn, Lyft, a pretty long list. Then there daily active users, which is one of those metrics of how engaged is your user base, is a massively enormous number. I know vast majority of the humans that I'm aware of are playing, and so they're not just playing a bit, they're playing a lot, it seems. And on Thursday, I know their servers went down, and they've been up and down kind of throughout their launch, very likely based on all of the very intense utilization of the app and of their infrastructure. So, as what I do for my day job, it's really compelling to kind of see how they've approached massive scale and incredible growth. I imagine they expected very big uptake, but I don't know that anybody could have expected this sort of an extent and pace. The pace at which they went from launch to challenging the likes of Twitter for daily active users and downloads is unprecedented, absolutely ridiculous. So from an interest and impact standpoint, I've not seen anything like Pokemon Go really anywhere in my memory.
It's definitely, I would consider it a phenomenon at this point. Like, it's something that's especially in the app world these days. You have games like Candy Crush and Farmville that lots of people play and utilize, but for something to be picked up this fast and adopted this quickly, and even with all of the hurdles that have come through in the past couple of days to retain that user base is astounding. I have been avidly playing it since day one. I actually went to a pub crawl recently here in downtown San Antonio. Went downtown, met about 150 other Pokemon Go players, and we wandered the downtown streets, going from bar to bar, catching Pokemon, talking, chatting about Pokemon. People were dressed up as Pokemon trainers and Ash, and some people were dressed in Pikachu, and it was awesome. I mean, the streets were filled with gamers. I was happy as can be, and I had amazing craft beer, so I was like, okay, I'm good with this. I support all of this.
Well, it's interesting that because of the way it's been built and because of the experience and background of the people who built it, you are getting gamers in the streets, which typically you think of the gamer, at the console or at the PC or somewhere indoors interacting with that gaming environment. But this intentionally has people out in their environment, interacting wherever they happen to be, and getting people out into the environment. And I have a cousin who was visiting my parents in Ohio, and he's a bookish type, and found him. I talked to my mom. He's like, "Yeah, we're at a park." He wanted to go out to a park, and I was like, "Oh, okay." 2 and 2. He's playing Pokemon,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, he's doing that. Okay, well, cool. It is something that is getting people out into their communities, maybe head down, not paying attention to the other humans in their area. I don't know. That may or may not be the case, but seeing landmarks, and that really comes from it being built on top of Ingress, which used a lot of the metadata involved in Google Earth to really note places of note and make them important and get people engaged there. So it's kind of an interesting process that got us to here. So we went from Google Earth, which you can go, take a tour of the Grand Canyon and some of those other major landmarks. On top of that, this group of people that built Google Earth moved away from Google Alphabet proper and built a gaming organization that built Ingress, which is the same kind of idea, the same kind of augmented reality approach. And then you see the addition on top of that of a brand of something like Pokemon that when I was younger, I don't know what everyone's age demographic is, but I was a little on the older side. People were still interested, but I didn't get wrapped up in Pokemon when I was younger. My brother, who is of the perfect age, did. So they got this great brand on top of their technology, and wow, I mean, we're seeing a firestorm of news. You can't really be on social media or read news without stories of either, somebody finding a dead body or becoming a dead body because they're involved. Yeah, no walking into traffic, please. PSA: you're in the real world and things happen in the real world. Be aware of them, please. But it is this interesting evolution that's happened to get us to this point of a augmented reality game that really has a lot of interest and traction. I was always hoping, I talked to Alan about this a little bit earlier, I was hoping that Gran Turismo would be the thing that really made augmented reality come to life, because they've got every car and every modification you could think of. Google Earth has every road on the planet mapped out, and to be able to park your awesome car you've been modifying in your driveway in a virtual way would be pretty cool. And to say, get your buddies together. Hey, I'm gonna race. I'm gonna race from school home or from work to the grocery store, or whatever, with my buddies, and then look outside. And, oh, that's my buddy's car that just tore down the street. It's virtual, so it can tear down the street and not worry too much about your car parked in the road or the other vehicles. But I always thought that would be a fantastic augmented reality type game to bring together two brands. But clearly, I'm wrong, because this is the thing that's done it.
See, but I don't think you're completely wrong. I think the Pokemon Go opens up the doors for a lot of these things and opportunities for these augmented reality games to start taking hold and taking these brands and laying them out into the real world. And with the whole push for VR as well coming, that's going to really, how do we make these games that much more interactive? And AR is really one of those things that's taking over. It does mention to say that one of the reasons you go outside and rather than just sit at your house and wait for Pokemon to come to you is there's gyms and Pokestops, and the Pokestops you can collect resources. So you literally have to walk down your street to the nearest Pokestop, swipe it, and then it gives you Pokeballs, or it gives you potions, or it gives you super Pokeballs. It also gives you and unlocks eggs, and the eggs are only unlockable based off of movement. So, but it's not. This I thought was interesting.
So you actually have to walk to do it.
Now this is I don't know why they did this way, but it's interesting. They're not utilizing the pedometer inside these phones. They're utilizing GPS tracking. Yeah. So
you can't just be like at your desk.
Yeah, you can't
around,
be like, I'm walking. It doesn't work that way. You have to be in movement or in motion for it to track it. It's a little spotty because it's GPS, but for the most part, it works.
Well, they're integrating something they were already using. I mean, GPS is a major
exactly.
part of interacting with the game, so might as well
it also
just
gets you up
extend
and
that into
moving
functional.
That next stop, that next gym, that next Pokemon that you got to pick up. So they want you to leave. They don't want you just like standing around on the on the treadmill doing that. They want you going somewhere else. Which, by the way, they could probably rig that up, right? I mean, they have some like cycling, like some spinning things where you like have a augmented reality. You're cycling in the Alps on the Tour de France or something like that. I mean, you could kind of set that up in a gym somewhere, but yeah.
Augmented reality has really begun to be adopted by a lot of training tools. So giving you kind of an experience that would be similar to what you would actually need to do to achieve a task. So someone in a data center can see the process required to replace some RAM or a busted drive or something along those lines. So there are already tools in place to leverage some augmented reality. And as the gaming world is pioneering, I'm sure we'll see some additional functionality type augmented reality. I think LinkedIn would be an interesting workplace type tool. So if you're at an event, at some networking event, and you know your network, you could see people who may be second or third level connections and some information about them. So you could go and make them real and proper parts of your network. There's a David Suarez book called Damon that has a lot of this, like just a very short distance forward in the future reality that he theorizes about that really seems similar to that. And Pokemon Go is a really big step towards introducing people to that type of an environment where you have like a heads-up display when you're walking around with some stats on the people around you or the things around you. And it could really change the way people use things like Google Maps. It's going to really provide additional functionality there where maybe you could, walk around with your phone instead of like the Night Sky app where you can go and see where's Orion right now and point your phone all over the place and locate it. you can pan your phone and see things like, oh, my buddy lives that direction, or he's on his phone and he's not too far. I just have to walk that way. Text him, hey, stop moving. I'm coming to see you. Things like that would be an interesting and compelling extension of this sort of additional layer on top of our IRL reality, as opposed to just texting people. It's kind of fun to use these kind of tools.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to watch and to see where we're at now with technology and getting to this point these days. But unfortunately, with great power comes great responsibility. So there's been some very interesting uh, conversations going back and forth about it right now because of the potential security issue with Google having a camera and walking around all the time like this. Certain workplaces, or I mean, I don't think the people at NASA are walking around, catching Pokemon inside the space
I bet
shuttle
you're
right
wrong.
now.
I bet
They're
you're
like,
wrong.
it could be, because I would
The
chase.
Pokemon on the International Space Station are probably ridiculous.
Right, there's probably a
Right.
Mewtwo out there or something that I would totally go after. There's a
All the
legendary.
rare ones are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all in space. But you have large compounds that are basically locked down, and because of Google Maps is utilizing that data based off of user base. So you'll see a lot of churches are Pokestops and
Hmm.
gyms, and they're using those numbers to generate. There's a guy's house in the UK that for some reason is a Pokestop, and his entire front lawn is just full of people just like this, just trying to catch all the Pokemon in his front yard.
He's
Um,
literally telling the kids to get off of his lawn.
it literally is. He is the ultimate dad right now. But there's other locations like that. There's other office buildings that have high security, and this is a risk. But they've been labeled as gyms and Pokestops and have a high user base.
Well,
And
there's a couple of news articles about like the Holocaust Museum in D.C. and some of the big national military cemeteries that are basically saying, seriously, guys, your fun is fine, but have some respect for this space and what it represents, and go play your game somewhere else. This is a place for reverence
right.
and things along those lines. So it's causing some, hopefully, some thought about
That's
where
the
our
key.
spaces are and what our spaces are intended to be. I saw a tweet and I didn't click the link, but it sounds like there may be some collaboration between the company and McDonald's to make what is already a incredible real estate holdings of McDonald's integrate with Pokemon Go and provide a lot of space and drive traffic in an interesting marketing business standpoint to those
Yeah.
places.
There's so much. There's so much going on right now. It's happening so fast. We talked about it at the beginning of the episode, right, where we're talking about the information that's getting out there, and we thought there might be Gmail gets all your access, or that Pokemon gets all your access to Gmail. It's happening so fast, and all this technology is happening so rapidly that we can't build we have to let our societal norms catch up to this new technology, right? And so people are so excited, and they're going and there are probably some people that have never even heard of the Holocaust Museum. As horrible as that sounds, there are probably some people who found out about that via Pokemon Go, which I'm glad they found out about it. But capturing Pikachu in a Holocaust museum is not the way to do that.
It's
Not
not
the
the
way to
intent.
experience that. This is, like you mentioned, Drew. This is driving conversations, and this is getting us to the point where we can start to have these conversations and try to decide how are we going to work around this. There are things that we can do behaviorally. Hey, I'm not going to go to Arlington National Cemetery and capture Pokemon. And then Niantic and whoever else starts to make this next generation of AR, like in real life apps, they need to be able to say, okay, there should be some areas that we block off, that we prevent from putting up Pokestops or whatever. So, I think that this is all we're dealing with this right now. We're going to come up with some ideas of things that are working and things that aren't working, and then I think that we're really going to start to see them change in the next couple of iterations here.
Most definitely, and on the flip side too, I know there are places that are out of respect that you're not supposed to go to, and try and avoid for the social norms and whatnot. But at the same time, let's talk about it driving foot traffic to your location. I mean, I have seen Facebook posts from breweries to bars to toy stores. Hey, come catch Pokemon here. We're a public space. We're a gym. We're a Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, but we have a bunch of we. This was spotted by a user, and it's driving traffic. But at the same time, you also have people walking into 7-Eleven to get nothing except a Pokemon and then walk right out.
Yeah.
So it's a 50-50 here.
Yeah,
Well,
businesses are going to
yeah.
have to work to actually translate foot traffic into business, and that's getting foot traffic is a start, but learning how to translate that into actual dollars is a pretty difficult conversation. So warm bodies is helpful, but getting their wallets out is a totally different thing. I don't know about you guys. I know that Corey says he is a user. I know that Alan hasn't said yes or no. I personally am not and refuse to play for a variety of reasons. I have a son who doesn't yet realize what's going on, and I'm good with that, because if he had a device and was playing, a lot of the geographic information available would be able to locate him. There's been some news stories about location of people, be they there's a guy who his relationship fell apart because he was caught cheating. Well, he probably should have had that relationship fall apart, but that's one of those stories where the geolocation component comes into play. I don't want my kids being geolocated. That's just something I'm completely against. The other part of that is everyone is walking around with their cameras on, playing this game. And it's the same people who brought us Google Earth. They brought us Google Maps. The people who make it so that you can drive down a street virtually to see what does that store actually look like, so that when I drive there I can be sure I know which one it is. Now has people that they're not paying walking around with their cameras on all over the place. So in a public space, that could be very compelling. So at a mall, being able to say, here's what the inside of this mall looks like. I didn't have to send someone there, but if you want to go to Lids at North Star, I can send you through Lids at North Star, very high res. Yes, there are fuzzed out people's faces there, and we'll stitch all the pictures together until we can have it nice and clean and empty. But you're getting pretty much everywhere filmed now. Now, what they're doing with that, I don't know. What they will do with that in the future, I don't know. But I don't really want someone to be able to drop from a satellite picture way above the globe down into my bathroom. I just don't want that. So I have some real reservations. Not that that is happening, but that certainly seems like something that is feasible when you're giving an app access to your camera. You're walking around looking for things, pointing your camera at your home, your possessions, your friends, your family. That seems problematic, especially with some of the other things that Google has delivered, like being able to take a picture of a shoe and find that shoe for sale somewhere, or things along those lines, where they can catalog even deeper who the people that are behind the usernames are that use their products, and then really target ads to those people. That is the way Google makes the most of their money, is targeting ads to a right audience. And I don't know that I'm comfortable providing all of that information readily to an organization with such close ties to Google. Use it or not, I don't know. But there's a lot of answers I need before I'm interested in playing the game myself. And I'm certainly not going to provide a geolocation for my children anytime soon. So that's kind of where I'm sitting from a is it something I'm going to use or not standpoint. I've got a lot of pretty serious reservations.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. I just want to mention real quick, we've got a couple of people checking us out live. Our good buddy Pub Run San Antonio brought up, something that's interesting. We kind of hit around it earlier, but, he mentions that his workplace has one gym and 2 Pokestops, I think. Yeah, and but you have to badge in to get to that. So I mean, there are some issues around that where people see this from the road, but they can't get in to get to them, and they're on that map because of it was on Ingress, where it's just a feature on Google Maps, which is kind of crowdsourced, so you can put them on there. There's a lot of considerations that workplaces are going to have to sort through. I mean, I think that probably every major corporation is looking at, what are our policies toward Pokemon? What are our policies toward, any type of photos in the workplace? So there's a lot of questions. Drew, you mentioned this possibility of high-res photos being uploaded. I mean, I don't know if there's any indication that Ingress or Pokemon specifically are actually sending data back to Niantic, but they potentially could, and I think that we'll have to see, and that's one of those things where we don't have the information, and so we really need to think about that. I'd like to throw the question out there too: is if you're concerned about taking pictures in general, right? What's the difference between taking a picture and putting it on Instagram and taking a picture or taking a Pokemon snap, right? Capturing a Pokemon in the augmented reality world.
I would say that my biggest concern around that is that you're both geolocated and time-stamped when you're doing that. If I take a picture on my phone and in the future decide I want to post it to Instagram or Facebook, I don't have to put a geolocation on it if I don't want to, and I don't have to say when this picture was taken. I can, but I don't have to. But by saying I was here at this exact point at this exact time, or I am here at this exact point at this exact time, there's a lot more information than just saying, yeah, at what point I took this picture. If you've been there before, cool, you probably know where this is. If you haven't, then feel free to ask me in the comments, and I may or may not respond with an answer. But I get the choice of geotagging a picture. I don't get the choice of geotagging Pokemon because I'm intrinsically using my GPS location to play the game, and I'm logged in as myself, and I'm there in a temporal setting, so it knows when I was at a place, exactly where I was and who I am, based on all of those components, and that's more information that I really want out there.
So in that aspect too, yes, you don't have the option to geolocate. You can't turn it on and off, but you can. And this is another one that goes back to like Instagram and Snapchat and whatnot. Is the camera? The camera doesn't have to be on for you to play this game. You don't have to have it on to catch Pokemon. There's an option that says AR on and off. So you're like, turn it off, and you get this lovely, depending on the time of day, you get this lovely green background, or you get this lovely nighttime background, and that's it. You can still catch Pokemon. You can still walk around and find Pokemon. It doesn't deter anything from the game. You just aren't looking through your viewfinder. That's it. So it's yes, there's the geolocation piece that I completely understand. It's the reason that my kids aren't playing it right now, but we have a vacation coming up that I plan on us going to certain parks and zoos, and I want us to walk around together as a family and catch Pokemon and keep an eye out, but they're with me at the time. So I'm like, I'm with them. If you find me, you find them.
That's a great, yeah.
Much wisdom there, Corey. Much wisdom.
Well, rather than hey, my kid's running around with an iPhone and just doing whatever they want to do, at least they're with me at the time, and I have control over the situation. Is my best argument there. It really for me comes down to just responsible gaming, like just be conscious, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of how
advocating for responsibility, Corey.
It's terrible. This game has ruined me. But no, it's you need to be responsible. You need to be a responsible gamer. It's the same concept of like parents buying Grand Theft Auto for their kids because they have no idea what it is. Don't do that. Don't just hand your kid Pokemon Go without understanding it and listening to this kind of stuff. Be aware of what you're giving your children. As a father, do that, please. Technology's moving too fast. Things are changing too quickly. Educate yourself and then make a decision.
That's a great
I'm so behind that. I could not be more for what you just said in every sense of what you said, gaming and not gaming. I think this is applicable to social media. I know kids want their own Facebook page and their own Twitter handle and all these other things. It is just as applicable in in every aspect of their lives. Dad, I want to buy these clothes. Okay, well, when you're old enough to be able to make that decision, you're welcome to. Or, yeah, that brand is so expensive and you're going to only wear those shoes for a month and a half. No, we're not going to spend the money that we could be spending on something of more value, be that a memory that we can share forever or an item that will deliver more value. Any of those things are responsible parenting, be that in the gaming community or broader. And I am so for getting yourself educated before you go and make a decision and hand your kid a thing. Know what and why that transaction is happening, so that you can be responsible with the way you raise your kids and know what they're up to. And I was a sneaky kid, so I'm sure I got away with a couple of things my parents don't know about, but I know that they were paying close enough attention to catch me in a lot of the things I was trying to get away with. So I intend to be as intentional with my kids, but that's fantastic advice.
It's
It is.
just be involved. That's it. That's all it is. So, although let's on a quick note, if my friend Candace at Vampire Kitten on Twitter, she had made a post online and said, if my 13-year-old self knew that about 25 years from now, Pokemon would have been the new social norm, my entire youth would have been completely different. Because I mean, this is if you think about it, this is 20 years ago we were sitting down and playing Pokemon cards or playing on your Game Boy or DS or whatever have you, and this was those were the kids that sat in your house, and that's what you did. You played video games all day. Now we're the kids that, as everybody keeps saying, get up and go outside. Why don't you kids go outside? Now we're going outside, and everybody's like, why are you outside? We're like,
Go
we're
back
playing
inside.
Pokemon.
Stop playing Pokemon. Go back inside.
That same phone has a weather app that will tell you that it's blazing hot before you walk outside.
That's the other thing here in San Antonio, to bring it back home locally, is that it's so hot. And I've been driving around and I see more people walking around lately, and fortunately I see a lot of them carrying umbrellas or at least hats and water bottles, so it looks like people are doing it pretty responsibly, and we haven't seen any local news reports of heat-related, Pokemon-related injuries.
It's still early. It's still
early.
We got time.
We got another month worth of hot at least.
The San Antonio specific PSA is please don't walk out into the street.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, okay, so
sidewalks in
here's
some
the
places.
thing. Nobody in San Antonio has ever seen a crosswalk in their life, apparently, because people will just wander in between the first car in line and the second car in line when they could just walk in front of all the cars in the crosswalk and not get run
Where
over.
you have right of way.
Ugh,
The concept of right of way is hard. I get it.
I don't know.
But
don't know.
maybe we could
They don't
do a
get
better job of that.
they don't get it. All right, well, I think we've had. I think we got everything out on Pokemon. I mean, that's it's Corey.
For
I think
now.
you absolutely wrapped that up. As let's take a look at it. Let's see if it's going to be useful for our kids, and just be aware of what information is collected and when and where it's going. So good discussion there. Let's jump in, Drew. I think you also wanted to talk about a couple of tasty coffee beverages that you've had a chance to sample lately.
You can always count on me to have something to say about coffee. If I have anything to say about anything, that's usually my subject of choice. Today, I had the wonderful opportunity to taste a couple of items from Estate Coffee, which is one of the newest coffee roasters here in town. San Antonio has a vibrant and wonderful coffee scene going on and growing as we speak. Estate Coffee is just to the east of downtown. They share a space with a spice company that they're using a lot of their products in the coffee offerings that they have at Estate. I, being a San Antonian and being a coffee lover, drink a ton of cold brew in the summer. And they have a couple of cocktails, mocktail, I guess they're non-alcoholic cocktails, but they have a couple of mixed drinks that they make with their cold brew that I was able to sample today that were fantastic. The one that I have known for the longest time and have been drinking religiously for probably 3 years, 4 years, is a blend of cold brew and Coke. We call it the office cocktail because it's a
I'm
delicious
familiar with it.
pick-me-up. Yes. Plenty of caffeine and sugar for you for a midday bump before you're really trying to press through the last half of your day. It's one of the things that I've really enjoyed. Anywhere between a third to half cold brew, and fill the rest of the cup up with Coke. Very, very nice combination, refreshing and cool. It's not the steaming cup of joe that you think of when you think of coffee. But the two that I had today, this morning, I guess this afternoon, was a shandy, which is cold brew, Topo Chico, and lemonade. So it's kind of a coffee play on the Arnold Palmer. Very refreshing, probably my favorite of the two. And the other was a julep. So it used a mint-infused simple syrup with that cold brew as well. So you had that refreshing mint flavor or that bracing and crisp lemonade flavor with the bright Topo Chico that added the nice effervescence. Both really, really nice, refreshing summer beverages served over ice, something that I'm going to be testing my own twists and iterations on here before too long. I've got a refrigerator full of cold brew that I intend to experiment with over the weekend. But Alan, I was talking with you earlier in the week, and you've done some additional research on the coffee cocktail or coffee cold brew mixology front, and I'm gonna let you talk about that before we cover a couple of the other things I'm interested in trying at Estate.
Well, I think I'm basically with you on that. I mean, I know that Brown Coffee has a cold brew and tonic, and I think Local might have it as well. Cold brew has been kind of this staple. It's super easy to make. It is set it and forget it, basically, and so you can make a lot of it with a very little effort. So it's easy to have out there, but there's so many
With a
different things.
wide variety of coffees as well.
Right, and you can use a blend. I mean, I'll take 3 or 4 different bags of beans that I can't completely finish off in a hot brew method, and I'll throw those together and make a little blend. And the process, I think, lends itself to that. You have you kind of in the summertime you want that effervescence, right? And so I've been pouring Topo Chico, pouring just generic sparkling water on top of the cold brew, and it makes a very nice, very crisp beverage to have. So big fan of that. Usually the cold brew that I make is a little bit more concentrated, so it does kind of even help to thin that out just a little bit. But really anything, even a little bit of milk, it goes a long way to make it a little sweeter, a little more refreshing. Corey.
So you guys actually were the ones that introduced me to putting stuff in my cold brew coffee. Like, I had no idea that was a thing until you guys were like, try Coke. Oh, you want something a little sweeter? Try Dr. Pepper, and try this, and try that. And I'm like, what is
right,
this? What is this concoction that you guys created? And for me, it's weird because when you think coffee, you get the whole old school. Best part of waking up is Folgers, right? It's like it's just a cup of black coffee. If you want it a little less strong, you put in some milk. Now we're putting lemonade in it. We're putting tonic water in it. We're mixing it up and creating these different things, and it's becoming this craft, this art now, and it's exciting, but at the same time, I still have the whole, it's black and bitter coffee. Why do I want to put lemonade in it? Why do I want to make a shandy? And then you drink it and you're like, oh, that's why. Because I want that in my life. Because I need more of this. So it's the barrier to entry is you really have to be open and just be like, we're just gonna try it, like just give it a shot, because it could be good. You could like it, you could not like it, but yeah, if I would have never thought about doing some of these things without you guys, and now I'm just like, yeah, I want that. Can I get the shandy? Can I make that happen? I'm excited to hear about the other recipes because I'm like taking notes, going, okay, I need this. I need to go to the store and buy that, and then I'm gonna experiment myself, and I may fail a couple times, but you know what?
That's good.
Science.
Yes, science indeed. So Brown Coffee does, they provide cold brew in one of 3 ways. You can get it neat on the rocks or dirty, so very much in the cocktail nomenclature. Dirty is with a little bit of agave and milk, and so all 3 methods are delicious. one of the things that I noticed with really, really dark roasted coffees that I've had in my possession, if I'll do that with the cold brew method, typically just the immersion method, I'll grind up really, really rough coffee in about 4-5 to 1 ratio. Just let it sit for about 24 hours on the counter or even in the refrigerator. Once you decant the grounds out and filter that out, you have this concentrate you can use in a lot of different ways. But if you have really, really dark coffee, sweetened condensed milk will do much the same thing and give you kind of a Vietnamese coffee output. Something I really, really like, and it takes a lot of the bitterness out of that coffee when you balance it out with such a sweet and creamy addition. One of the other things we're seeing a lot of is another thing that Brown does is espresso and tonic. So it looks like a black and tan, so they float an espresso shot over tonic water, which gives you that kind of quinine interplay like you'd get with gin and tonic or a vodka tonic.
So good. It's
So
one
do
of my
they pull
favorite.
it into like a little shot glass and then pour that on top, or do they
And then
pull it
float
straight
it, yeah,
into
with
the
a
tonic?
spoon.
Okay.
You float it with the spoon like you would
Wow.
a black and tan or something like that.
Local coffee does the same thing. They provide you the espresso with the side of the sparkling water that you can also have it as well, and then add and remove add it as you would basically.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the traditional espresso service comes with club soda or something along those lines
Yeah, that's right.
alongside, and so
And
those are
eventually
things
somebody
that
just tried them together.
yeah, I mean it's not something that's totally foreign, but in presenting it in that black and tan type of delivery is just stunning and attractive, as well as being delicious. And that's one of the other things the state does. So I already talked about the first two cold brew options, but they also do an old fashioned, which has both bitters and a bourbon barrel aged sugar that they use to sweeten it with. So it doesn't actually have bourbon in it. I'm sure that wouldn't hurt, but it has those same components you'd expect in an old fashioned, but with the main liquid in that situation being the espresso or the cold brew, which is always interesting, especially with the quality of stuff that Estate is putting out. I've had 3 different varietals that they've roasted: an Ethiopian, a Kenyan, and a Guatemalan, I believe. And the Ethiopia is all blueberries and pretty impressive. And their Kenya was a really well balanced, fruit forward Kenyan with a lot of citrus flavors and things like that. So just another great coffee location here in San Antonio, a great purveyor of the good stuff. So we've got 5 or 6 or 7 coffee roasters in town, and then a good handful more great coffee locations that are sourcing from all over the place. So San Antonio is a great place to be drinking coffee these days. Cold brew is the thing you should be drinking if you're drinking coffee in the summer in San Antonio. So do a little bit of research, find a good way to get your hands on coffee. Cold brew, if you can. There's a lot of people selling it in stores, but it's really easy to make on your own. And once you've got a decent backstock of cold brew, go experiment with what it can blend with that will give you both your caffeine hit as well as a refreshing and cooling effervescence that you would need in the oppressive San Antonio summer.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'm definitely gonna try a couple more of those, I think, myself. And I'm looking at a map right now of Pokestop, so it looks like there are plenty of Pokemon to be captured near some of our favorite coffee shops that we've mentioned: local coffee, brown coffee, etc. So there you go. If you want to go out and catch some Pokemon and have a refreshing cold beverage in that hot sun, you can go do that with one of these that we've just suggested.
Get out
I'm
and see
doing
your
that
city.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, go out and see your city. Pokemon will make you do it, and coffee will make you do it.
It will. It absolutely will. So, speaking of going out tomorrow, our buddy Pub Run, who normally just does a first Friday, pub run of 5 or 6 different pubs. They're doing the same type of a concept, but this time with a Pokemon theme. So they're going to hit up 8 different bars tomorrow, starting at 7 p.m. at Pat O'Brien's. So if you are into Pokemon and into tasty beverages, head up to Pat O'Brien's. Tomorrow being the 15th of July, depending on when you're listening to this. But check out Pub Run San Antonio, Pub Run SA on Twitter, and you can find out more about that as well. Let's see, what other announcements do we have to make? Oh, hey, big congratulations to our buddy Garrett, who has been a frequent guest on the show for child number 2. So he joined the two kids club this last week. So congratulations to him and to his wife and their daughter on the birth of their son. So very excited for him on that one. What else? What other announcements do we have? Anything else?
Pretty much everything's been Pokemon Go. As soon as this is over, I have to go hunting. So I know it's 10:30 and 10:45 at night, but
Will the servers stay up?
That's the big question. Will the servers stay up? And if they don't, then I have to come home.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But because we don't need to go into hour 3 of this. So
exactly.
no, it's been good. So I'm interested to take a look more at Pokemon and see not just Pokemon where it goes, but the next generation of games that are spawned off of that. And I think I've got some good beverages to sip and contemplate while I think about that.
I'm holding out for Gran Turismo. It's gonna be amazing.
I think it's a great idea. I would love for that to happen. Yes, I figure just put it in all the Teslas at that point. Just give you a heads up display for a Tesla, and just have the updates automatically download. Yes, I would play this game. I mean, we already have the displays in most cars.
How many San Antonians are gonna just do like the 410 circuit or go around downtown? And how many laps can you make around downtown? People cutting through.
Does it give me experience? I would do it. I'd 1604. I would do that. I'd do 410. I would drive everywhere. I'd be like, kids, we're going on a drive. Why? Because we can. Because Daddy needs experience. So
yes.
Yeah, I could play that game. You should pitch that to Google. I'm just saying.
All right, we'll do it.
I done pitched it. Just here now. They're here listening.
It is.
That's my idea. I call it. You don't have to pay people to drive cars around with their cameras open. Don't pay people to do that. That's silly.
Too funny.
There you go. All right, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up on that, unless we have anything else we need to add. All right. Well, hey guys, it's been fun as always. We'll go ahead and sign off and say see you all next time.